Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Clown in a Cornfield. And this is a new horror film from director Eli Craig, who did Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. So, I didn't even realize that going into watching this film, and I would have been so much more excited going into this if I did. And in hindsight, I'm not surprised, because this is a darkly hilarious and bloody good time. It's funny. It's not like laughs per minute kind of funny. There's a lot of really clever bits of humor that are like slid right in that honestly reinforce some of the ideas and themes of the film and feel very natural, and then they just like hit you. There is a joke about a rotary phone that got me laughing so hard in the theater. And this film focuses on a fading midwestern town in which Frendo the Clown, a symbol of a bygone success, reemerges as a terrifying scourge. And what I really appreciate about this film is that it has some rich, committed thematic elements. So much of this film is about, it's like Fiddler on the Roof, tradition. And you have those that run this small town in the middle of nowhere, cornfields everywhere, are so transfixed on keeping things the way they are. And you have this group of rebellious teenagers that bring in this new girl who moves into town, Quinn, played by Katie Douglas, and they're at odds with the traditions of this town. And then all hell breaks loose when Frendo the Clown starts slashing teenagers up. And I really appreciate the thematic elements, and sure, towards the end, it definitely is like starts beating you over the head with some of the dialogue, but it really is a good undercurrent throughout the whole entire film that reinforces a lot of aspects, and there's fun humor that bounces off of like young people versus middle-aged people and the generational gaps. They get a lot of mileage out of that. From a directing standpoint, Craig does a great job of feeling the tension and suspense without sacrificing that for some humor. You slip in some humor every so often, and it's a nice punctuation. And it's a nice punctuation to scenes that are over-the-top, ridiculous, bloody, and gory slasher scenes. And then you have like a nice little button on the end of it that gives a good laugh, and you're just like, wow, Craig's really effectively threading all this humor and horror together, and that's what you need. And Tucker and Dale vs. Evil did that so well, and this film does that too. And I think it understands that this is a passionate homage to like 80s and early 90s slasher horror films, and it has that feel from like a visual standpoint, and there's some other elements, the tinges, motifs that they thread in here that reinforce that. And story-wise, this subverts a lot of expectations of where exactly this story is going, and then reinforces thematically really well to what this film is about. Sure, there's certainly some moments where they really lean on some tropes, or there's some things about like the very end, the third act, that kind of lose some of its logic, but it's still thoroughly entertaining and you're not checked out, but then you're kind of sitting there like, but did that make sense? And you have those kinds of things, and there's definitely some telegraphed moments that you can see coming a mile away in that third act, but all the build-up is done so well, and Craig does a great job along with his crew, especially like cinematographer. You have Brian Pearson, who does some great camera work. There's a really great oneer inside a house that is really engrossing, builds great tension, and this plays with conventions so well and has a nice score from Brandon Roberts and Marcus Trump, and it just sets the tone and the vibe for this whole film. And I loved Katie Douglas. She was fantastic, incredibly charismatic. I bought into Quinn from the start. I cared about her. I was so happy to go on this journey with her, and I'd love to see more of what Douglas does. Aaron Abrams, who plays her father, I think he does a really fine job, and they have some good chemistry. Carson McCormick, Vincent Muller, and some of the others that make up like this teenage group that we focus on, I think they all do a really fine job, and there's some fun twists and turns with some of their characters. And then you have the likes of like Will Sasso, who's like the really obnoxious, like, oh yeah, I'm a midwestern kind of sheriff, sweetheart. And he's really leaning into that. And Kevin Durand is like the rich oligarch of the town. And he's so smug and also kind of dangerous. And I just love the like the clown designs and stuff like that. And it's very gory. The practical effects work well. Everything comes together in such a fun and unexpected way. And this is in such an enjoyable good time, and should definitely go check this out. Especially like if you're a horror fan, this is it. This is one of the best horror films of the year so far. But those are my thoughts on Clown in a Cornfield. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.